everyone, and welcome to Clear Voice. I'm John Monahan.
And I'm Christine Caswell. Clear Voice, the news magazine that brings the world into focus through a Catholic lens.
Rick Santorum, the former U.S. Senator from Pennsylvania, is traveling the country speaking on issues that he believes are important to America. Those stops have all the appearances of a man who is testing the waters for a possible presidential run in 2012.
And Santorum was in Boston recently, and John had a chance to talk with him here in our studios. The Catholic politician talks this week about his faith and how it has shaped him as a person and as a politician.
It really is the thing that animates me. I can't always say that was the case, but it certainly, since I came to the United States Senate and was faced with this awesome responsibility of, at the age of 36, I had a 6-year term, and so instead of my previous life when I was in the House, you're sort of running all the time. It's every 2 years, and I was in tough districts. So I was always running, always sort of working to stay alive in a tough area. And then I got to the Senate. I had 6 years, and I'm thinking, well, wait a minute. I've got 6 years. I can think about what I'm really supposed to be doing instead of just doing the next thing. And that's really where I had some great mentors who sort of got me involved in in a Bible study at the Senate. I had a great parish priest in the parish we moved into, and we moved the family down to D.C. and that combination really opened my eyes a little bit to maybe God has something in store for me. He wants me to do some things here, and I took on some causes that prior to that I never would have. Things like the family issues, the cultural issues. I mean, I had taken on a lot of other controversial issues, but those are the ones that sort of separate you from the pack a little bit. They are very controversial, intense issues, and very few politicians get involved in them for that reason. And so when I did, it labels you a little bit, but at the same time you feel like this is what you're called to do. That's what you got to do.
And we'll hear more from Senator Santorum next week when he responds to being labeled an ultra-conservative. Now we have some insight from presidents and officials from Catholic college campuses on the importance of Catholic intellectual tradition.
The Catholic intellectual tradition is so important because ultimately it's not a tradition, it's a person. It's Jesus Christ. And the faith is a way of knowing as well as a way of living. Sometimes people want to reduce Christianity to a moral code or to a series of dogmas. And although Christianity includes a moral code and a group of dogmas, ultimately it's relational. It's relating to the God who has revealed himself in Jesus Christ, and through him relating to others in him, and even relating to subpersonal creation, the earth, where we're called to be stewards. So the Catholic intellectual tradition tries to tie in the relational reality of human existence.
Well, I think the Catholic intellectual tradition is vital. It's a significant element or dimension of private higher education, and it's a gift, I think, to all of higher education, in part because of the fact that there are critical issues that divide the country. There's a need for rootedness in terms of an anthropological approach to the human situation, to a core set of values such as respect for the dignity of each human being, for the holistic development, character and mind and heart and leadership, investment in giving back to the larger community, social responsibility, again, respect for the dignity of all of life. And so to the extent that these elements, these core principles, this whole approach to human development is brought into the classroom in an integrated way across the whole curriculum.
The Catholic intellectual tradition certainly, I think, has had value not only in Catholic institutions, but I think for the good of the world. And what I think the Catholic College or University can do is to help inform the students about the heritage that is ours. That we have a very specific approach to the world, we have a very specific approach to how we view God and how we view our relationships with one another.
Well, I think the Catholic intellectual tradition is worthy of our investment because we need to be invested in human beings. And the Catholic intellectual tradition helps us understand and celebrate our humanity. And it accesses our souls. It accesses the things that enliven our souls, which is art and literature and poetry and human community, ritual, tradition, and the historical consciousness of being able to reach back into the centuries and bring forward the giftedness of our human adventure. The Catholic intellectual heritage has all of that to offer. Sometimes people aren't aware of that because the default mechanism, Catholic intellectual heritage, that's theology, and we can pigeonhole that in the theology department, and the theologians take care of that. So part of our work is to break down those cliches and say the Catholic intellectual heritage touches every discipline of the university, every aspect of our lives as human beings, and a way to celebrate our humanity is to engage that tradition and bring forth the riches.
So to the question or to the issue of what makes what is so rich about the Catholic tradition or the Catholic heritage or the Catholic intellectual tradition, I think is just that it is a rich tradition of some 2,000 years that doesn't consist of any one piece, but it's a repository, if you will, in terms of its intellectual tradition, its art, its culture, its liturgy, its music, all of those things that make up that whole rich tradition. So there's so much to draw from that in terms of a way of proceeding, is the way I would describe it.
The greatest challenge is to make sure that the young people who graduate, at the very least, know the Catholic tradition, that they know enough about it. Ideally, they would also be practicing it and inclined to practice, but they have to have the knowledge. And the actual practice, there are a lot of things the university or college can do, but I mean, ultimately that is the Holy Spirit working in the person, but we can share the Spirit with people.
Next week, we'll take another look at Catholic higher education. Right now, though, let's turn our attention to World Youth Day. Young Catholics around the world are fundraising and praying, all in preparation for that big event. Many are also hoping to snag some World Youth Day gear before they head off to Spain. Rome Reports now shows us how to get in gear.
For anyone who was waiting to buy their World Youth Day gear in Madrid, the wait is now over. Thanks to the new website, madrid11tienda.com, the official merchandise for the event is now on sale. The products include water bottles and key rings to several computer and clothing accessories. With all merchandise ranging between 1 and 30 euros, the website provides affordable options for all the necessities a young person might need before their pilgrimage to Madrid. Prepare for your trip with t-shirts and baseball caps that have the official World Youth Day logo, as well as some light reading to brush up on your Spanish. The book Generation JMJ tells 25 stories over the 25 years that the World Youth Day has been running. For those that are unable to travel to Spain this August, ordering the products online is a way to support the World Youth Day from your hometown.
World Youth Day cannot be pulled off without a lot of volunteers making it all happen. Catholic News Service has a look at some of the volunteer organizers and some priests preparing for pilgrimages.
Planning is well underway for the upcoming World Youth Day in Madrid. Planners and organizers are already seeing the fruits of their labors. Eva Genosikova is a volunteer organizer working in Madrid. Prior to her arrival in Spain, Eva had been working in Rome as an organizer for Centro San Lorenzo, a Catholic youth center located just a few steps away from the Vatican. As a volunteer organizer, Eva was surprised that Centro San Lorenzo didn't make use of Facebook to plan for upcoming events.
We couldn't use Facebook, even if we've been working with the young people. And then I arrived here and they told me, oh, you're going to work with Facebook and all social networks. And I was, what a big change.
Thanks to Facebook, Eva said, planning for World Youth Day has been a major success.
And I really believe that's a power that we still cannot really measure and see the potential.
Father Klaus Schmenk, a parish priest of the Diocese of Munster, Germany, is organizing with a group of 15 priest friends a group of 400 youth to attend World Youth Day this summer.
We are organizing under the patronage of the Karl Eisner some activities for young people. The group is very colorful, you can say, and it's from all over the diocese.
Madrid will be the 8th World Youth Day that Father Schmenk has helped to organize. Over the years, he said, there have been many spiritual fruits for those who have attended. Many youth have gone on to be parish priests or nuns after attending World Youth Day. Father Schmink said that the priests who organize the pilgrimages to World Youth Days are also blessed by the experience.
It's another spiritual fruit. The priests have joy in their work, and that is very, very important.
Coming up next on Clear Voice,
which is from the Gospel of John. Love one another as I have loved you. According to Father Brian, Mother Teresa believed that God wants to love us through our own expressions of love for one another.
easy and free. Adding Catholic streaming media to your website from all over the nation, the Vatican, and the world just became very simple and absolutely free from Catholic TV. Catholic TV Junior is a small web-based video player that features Catholic television shows, news, special events, and much more. You can embed this user-friendly carousel in the website of your diocese, your parishes, schools, and other Catholic agencies. It's just a click away. At www.catholictvjunior.com, the code can be found to provide this beautiful player for the people whom you serve. Simply copy and paste it into your website, and the player can even be customized with content just for your viewers. Smaller versions are also available. Enhance your presence on the internet. Educate, inspire, and evangelize by adding Catholic TV Junior to your fine website, and the video is always changing. It only takes minutes to add Catholic TV Junior to your site, and everything you need can be found at CatholicTVJunior.com. Your Catholic website will never be the same. From your friends at America's Catholic Television Network, Catholic TV.
For many businessmen and women trying to run a prosperous business, faith in God is not usually the focus.
However, one Boston businessman takes his faith seriously and incorporates it into the way he works and how he runs his company.
It's a faith-based model, and it works, according to Andy LaValle, who owns LaValle's Bakery Distributors. John had a chance recently to speak with Andy about how a business can prosper and serve others.
We want to talk today about your faith-based business model, but we'll start off first of all just with your company. Tell us a little bit about LaValle's.
LaValle's is a 35-year-old company located here in Waltham, Massachusetts, and we bring in some of the best bread products from all different categories from all over the world and service the top restaurants and hotels in the greater Boston area. It's a growing family business, and we've been blessed with some great growth, and it's all due to a business model.
That's what we're here to talk about, the faith-based business model. You don't hear that much, but explain what it is to us and how it works at your business.
It's really based on biblical principle, and it was inspired to me by Pope Benedict's encyclical, Charity and Truth. But it's two main principles. It's really stewardship and servant leadership. And I can tell you that day to day I see that working in the workplace, not just for our employees, for our customers, but also for the community. And it really does work.
So give us an example. What are you talking about?
Well, if you were fortunate enough to be downtown Boston early morning, you're seeing all the delivery trucks going in and out of the hotels and the restaurants and all that, and you would ask any driver, you know, what do you actually do? He'd tell you, well, I'm just a driver. At LaValle's, if you saw one of our employees in a truck, he'd say, I'm a customer guardian. He'd say that almost in a biblical sense. And he knows he's got to differentiate that, and he does it by serving the customer, taking care of his flock, making sure his team is first and he's last. And it's been something that's inspired our frontline people.
Okay. And in your business, you talk a lot about stewardship as well as part of your business model. Why is that important, the giving back aspect?
You know, our business is a gift. It's a gift from God. It's something that we have a possession of. It's a vehicle, and what we do with it at the time we have it is really important to our family, and we take it very seriously. So we like to give of the things that are really close to us. That's our resources and our products. And my favorite story about that is Thanksgiving Day 2009. If you were fortunate enough to be at the Ritz-Carlton, the 5-star resort on Avery Street in Boston, and have Thanksgiving dinner, you had breads from all over the world from LaValle's. But if you walked right through that back kitchen door into the adjacent next door building, you walked into the St. Francis House. 1,200 homeless men and women every day get served at the St. Francis House. And they were serving Thanksgiving dinner that day with the same exact breads that was being served next door at the Ritz-Carlton. Not the leftovers, not the stales, but the same exact breads. That's a decision that we make to try to bring respect and dignity to all people.
Okay. And part of that passing along the gifts you've received is some of the knowledge you've received now too with the group that you've started, the Massachusetts Catholic Business Association. Just recently started here in Boston. Not products, but your business knowledge. Explain what that group is and what it's all about.
Well, it's a group of Catholic businessmen and women, and it doesn't, employees, CEO, it really doesn't really matter. We're just coming together and trying to help each other and support each other based on the Eucharist. Once a month we meet, the first Wednesday of the month, and we have Mass, and then we have reflections after Mass, and try to get the reflections so they actually play into the readings that day and how they affect our lay workplace and how we can bring those into the workplace. And it's a kind of like a new spiritual entrepreneurship.
And I guess thinking of all these things we just talked about, the success rate, seeing how you've applied these principles in your business, give us an idea of how well it's worked.
20% growth for the last 5 consecutive years, year on top of year. It's a known fact that businesses with Christian principles outperform other businesses 8 to 1. No layoffs in 35 years. And I believe we're being watched over by our Lord and the higher power.
Okay. So it works.
It works.
All right.
Works for us.
Andy LaValle, we want to thank you for your time today, and I wish you the best of luck in your business and your new group membership with Mass Catholic Business Association.
Thanks very much, John.
All right, thank you.
As we approach the upcoming beatification of Pope John Paul II, Rome Reports takes a look at a close friend of the late Pope who was on the same path to sainthood. Blessed Mother Teresa of Calcutta was beatified in October of 2003. She lived her life, as we know, helping the poorest of the poor, and based her life on a passage from John's Gospel. Love one another as I have loved you.
You don't have to move to the slums of an Indian city to love like Mother Teresa, says Father Brian Kolodachuk, the postulator of her cause for canonization. In order to love like her, he says you just need to practice great love in small ways.
Whenever Mother Teresa used to speak, she would try to bring the message to the people so that they can practice it in their own ordinary life, even beginning with their own family. So, for example, she would say, do ordinary things with extraordinary love, or small things with great love, something that everyone can do no matter what they're doing, but the important thing for Mother Teresa was the love with which we do it.
Father Brian said that Mother Teresa's message could be summed up by the phrase that is inscribed on her tombstone, which is from the Gospel of John, "Love one another as I have loved you." According to Father Brian, Mother Teresa believed that God wants to love us through our own expressions of love for one another. In view of the coming beatification of John Paul II, Father Brian emphasized the close relationship Mother Teresa had with the Pope.
It's interesting to note that Mother Teresa won the Nobel Peace Prize in 1979, and John Paul II was elected in 1978. So both of their, most public times were almost the same years. And so there was a real connection, both on a human level, but maybe that connection was even more because of, let's say, being on the same spiritual wavelength.
Father Brian says that devotion to Mother Teresa would be especially good for travelers because she traveled much for her ministry, and also for women who are trying to conceive because she was known for helping couples wanting to have a child by giving them the miraculous medal.
Letters to God is a film full of hope. It's the moving story of a 10-year-old terminally ill boy and his friendship with a former boxer. And for the first time, it's being released in Spanish. Rome Reports has more.
French author Eric Emmanuel Schmidt directed the movie Letters to God, an adaptation of his own novel, Oscar and the Lady in Pink. The film is to be released in Spanish on April 15th. It was originally released in the USA in November 2009. It tells the moving story of Oscar, a 10-year-old boy who's terminally ill. Both the doctors and his parents are afraid to tell Oscar the truth about his health. Only Rosa, a former boxer, tells Oscar about his condition. Rosa advises Oscar to live every day as if it were 10 years of his life, and to tell his experiences to God through letters. Oscar and Rosa become close friends, and both of their lives are changed. According to the writer and director, both the film and the book are a celebration of hope, because when medicine can't do anything, you can save people with humor and imagination.
Coming up next on Clear Voice.
Looking at each other, but one was saying loudly, "Just walk away, just walk away." It looked like they were in a fight, and as I began to cross their path, I looked over, and there it was, a shiny black handgun pointed in the direction of the other guy's side.
Hi, I'm Father Reed. Could you do us a huge favor? Help us to bring the Catholic TV Network to every home in the nation. Just go to this page, www.catholictveverywhere.com, and fill out this simple form. Then please ask all of your family, your friends, and your contacts to do the very same. CatholicTVEverywhere.com. And thanks for your help.
John, it's time now to check in with our resident film critics and see what topic they'll be focusing on this week.
That's right. Father Bill Kelly gives his take on the movie Jane Eyre, which is receiving some good reviews by critics and filmgoers alike. Let's see what Father Bill's got to say.
So listen, we're always saying it, aren't we? We need more time. Well, that goes for Father Chip and me on Spotlight on Catholic TV. We don't have enough time to review every good movie that comes out, but there are some that just shouldn't slip by. Charlotte Bronte's novel Jane Eyre has been made into almost 20 movies, a television miniseries, and a Broadway musical. Its most recent incarnation is a major motion picture directed by Kari Fukunaga and stars the wonderful young actress Mia Wasikowska. And let's not forget Dame Judi Dench, Jamie Bell, and Michael Fassbender, all giving really able turns. Now, Jane Eyre is the story of a young girl who suffers a great deal as a child, orphaned, badly treated at boarding school, and ultimately hired as a governess. And there she found not only a home, but a love. The story is by turns touching, dramatic, heartbreaking, and heart-filling. Here we see the importance of both loving and being loved. We see how that drive can even lead people into deceit, and how integrity can right the ship and set lives sailing. Jane is a young woman with great self-respect, even when the world would offer her none. And the story is a great reflection of how Christian persons and virtues can bring light into even the darkest of moments. But the real story here is Mia Wasikowska. She's Australian, but first came to attention in America in her tremendous turn as Sophie, a suicidal teenager on the great HBO series In Treatment. After I saw a clip of her performance, I rented the whole series, and I could not get enough of the work of this young actress. She's also starred to good notices in Tim Burton's Alice in Wonderland and in last summer's The Kids Are All Right. Ms. Wasikowska is only 21 years old, and I predict a long career, and for what they're worth, any number of Oscar nominations and wins. The 2011 film itself is beautifully directed and photographed. Yes, it takes its time, often to great effect, sometimes a little less, but it allows the characters to breathe. And even if the plot gets a little creaky, the relationships are fresh and the chemistry true. Bronte's novel ends with a prayer, a beautiful reflection and homage to Jesus Christ for the mysterious ways he works in our lives. Now, I'm not surprised that Hollywood and the BBC did not choose to end with such depth and insight, but I'm glad that they have given new life to a classic novel and another chance at the spotlight for the magnificent Miss Mia.
And remember, you can join Father Chip and Father Bill every week on Spotlight right here on Catholic TV. Now let's take a look back at many of the significant events that have happened this week in the Church.
This week in the church on March 24, 1980, Archbishop Oscar Romero, El Salvador's leading human rights activist, was assassinated by a sniper while saying Mass in a hospital chapel. Romero was 62 years old. On March 27, 1962, in Louisiana, Archbishop Joseph Francis Rummel ordered all Roman Catholic schools in the New Orleans diocese to end segregation. On March 28, 1987, Maria von Trapp, the woman whose life inspired the Rodgers and Hammerstein musical The Sound of Music, died. She was 82 years old. And on March 30th, 1995, Pope John Paul II issues an encyclical, Evangelium Vitae, the Gospel of Life, condemning abortion and euthanasia as crimes. The Pope declares that no human laws could legitimize either act. And those are just a few of the events that happened this week in the church.
Christine, it's that time again. We're going to check in with Matt Weber to get his always intriguing insights on life and the world.
And in this week's A Word with Weber, Matt tells us about a very interesting and unfortunate way that he observed St. Patrick's Day this year. He's hoping it won't be an annual observance.
Last week was St. Patrick's Day, and no, I didn't kill any snakes, or grow a beard, or tend to a shamrock farm. I didn't drink green beer, or find a leprechaun, and actually, I didn't even think about St. Patrick, except for a few seconds. I suppose this is what happens when a saint becomes commercialized. Poor St. Valentine has it even worse. The details and the hype and the marketing overwhelms the actual man. But I will say on this particular St. Patrick's Day, Patrick and I did speak briefly. I was walking home at 10:30 p.m. at night, and off in the distance, there were two men. One walking towards me, another one following him. They were not looking at each other, but one was saying loudly, "Just walk away, just walk away." It looked like they were in a fight. As I began to cross their path, I looked over, and there it was, a shiny black handgun pointed in the direction of the other guy's side, as he was telling him to walk away. For the 2 seconds it took me to pass this scene, I had to make some quick decisions. Do I inquire, "Excuse me, gentlemen, is there anything I can do to de-escalate this altercation? I'm working on a master's degree at Harvard and feel like I might provide an impartial perspective on your respective and differing points of contentiousness." Or maybe I jump on the guy, pull back the thumb, kick the gun away, secure the safety, and hold the person down in a jiu-jitsu move I learned in 4th grade, hoping his buddies do not subsequently pummel my brain in. Or do I just hold my breath, look straight ahead, and send up a very special and speedy prayer to St. Patrick on this his feast day, asking him for forgiveness, that it's unfortunate that prayers are most often said during times of need, but I am close to peeing my pants and do not want to see death or experience death on this, the date of your death, St. Patrick, imploring him to protect and defend us, reminding him that while I have a German last name, I am more than 50% Irish and come from a long line of Brennans and Shays and Martins, and I rooted for Notre Dame every year until I went to Boston College, and I just really want to make it home safely. I slowly walked by them as if I didn't notice anything, and when I cleared my self-perceived danger zone, I just took off. I ran and I ran and I ran as fast and as far as I could until I was on the subway, corner seat next to the conductor, and safely traveling home. I went with this option as it was not a robbery, there were no women and children involved, and I assessed it being some sort of hothead and some sort of machismo ego match with another likely intoxicated Cambridgian. I know death can happen at any point. I bike, I drive, I eat cheeseburgers, I ski, but sometimes guns make those moments seem more real. And I guess prayers make those moments seem a little bit safer. So to St. Patrick, good talk this past week. Thank you. And I look forward to many more in different circumstances.
You just never know. That is so frightening.
No, I think you had the right idea taking off.
Absolutely. Well, that's going to wrap up our show for this week. I'm Christine Caswell. Thanks so much for spending some time with us.
And I'm John Monahan. We're glad you tuned in and hope to see you right back here next week for another edition of Clear Voice.